Everyone, in this video I'll be giving advice on how to roleplay better in Dungeons & Dragons. It's a fundamental component of the game, but you might be wondering what's so important about it anyway. Well, here's the thing. The reason you have a character that isn't yourself is to one, move the plot forward. Your character has goals that exist in the world that they're working to achieve, where you, who are not in that fictional world, don't have anything to do there. Your character does. That's why it's important to have a character. Number two, it makes for more wild and interesting situations when your character does things that you normally would not choose to do in a situation. Lastly, D&D is basically improv but with rules. In a group of 4 players and 1 dungeon master, that's 5 writers writing one story on the spot. And while you have control over what your character tries to do, the other 4 participants write the rest of the story, and it ends up being surprising and interesting for all. And the dice are there to add another mix of who knows what's going to happen to the story. So everyone's creating a story together, and even in combat, it's not like the story stops there. You continue developing your characters and making interesting things happen. So that's why roleplay is important, because if it were just a game of strategy and rules, you would be better off playing chess. Now, a character with a goal is good and all, but if you don't develop their mindset, then in any situation not pertaining to how they're going to achieve that goal, they wouldn't have anything to do, would they? And they would just default to acting as you would if you were in that character's shoes. So it's important to make some kind of overarching theme or thought process that your character would go through in any situation, not just ones pertaining to their goal at the current moment. If you know your character's personal goals, that will make role-playing fairly straightforward in situations relevant to those goals. But if you make their mindset, you can roleplay in situations that don't have anything to do with their goals. Otherwise, you'll have a hard time making interesting, character-based choices. A somewhat flawed mindset is the basis for a character arc and is a cool way to inject interesting character moments into the plot. Talk with the dungeon master if you want to be set up with situations that would challenge their mindset and force them to take consequential actions. Making decisions rooted in character that change the course of a story is the measure of good roleplay. For example, if your character's favorite object is a journal they're always writing in and carrying, but during some mishap the party's boat capsizes, they might have the choice to only save either their journal or their holy symbol, which makes it so that they can cast spells without material components. You, as a player, would appreciate not losing the item that lets you cast spells without components, but the character treasures that journal so much, they decide to save it instead. Now the cleric has to forage for spell components like honeycomb and a crocodile's baby tooth in order to cast certain spells, leading to a whole new facet of play that the party must learn to strategize around, as the group must chart a new course on their map based on your lack of a transportation spell, or you'd have to fight a wild animal to obtain such a component, or find the nearest shop and sell something valuable in order to acquire the funds to buy a new arcane focus. And if they roleplay well, their characters' reactions to this choice could start up interpersonal conflicts and develop their relationships, changing the course of the story. Like if the fighter gets super cranky and yells, "What's so important about that stupid book anyway?" And the cleric feels ashamed, so he tries to make up for it by scouting ahead without letting them know. The fighter would probably just get mad at him again, so he doesn't tell them. But he rolls bad on his stealth checks and gets kidnapped by the orc tribe he was spying on. Meanwhile, as the rest of the party is going about their business, unaware that the cleric is missing, the fighter tries to avoid a thought in the back of her mind that maybe she's prioritizing her mission for revenge over how well she treats other people, and this is causing her to lash out. When the party busts in to rescue the cleric, they see that the camp of orcs is being led by the chieftain that the fighter swore revenge on. By the end of the battle, the cleric has been rescued and they're all just trying to make it out before reinforcements arrive. But in the midst of the chaos, the fighter has to make a choice between firing a poisoned arrow at the chieftain and saving the cleric's journal, which is far riskier. She goes to save the cleric's most prized possession. After they escape, she apologizes for yelling at the cleric and hands him the journal. and says not to go leaving the party without warning next time, okay? Yeah, that was my bad, fighter. We'll stick together from now on. That's how roleplay leads to a cool story moment. Even though that initial decision to leave the holy symbol on the sinking ship wouldn't be smart from a strategic standpoint, it's definitely the more interesting one, giving a shock to the other party members, their players, and the DM. The complications regarding spell components would be a fun twist to the normal flow of combat and adventuring. As even this hastily put together example shows, a bad decision based on your character's values and backstory is counterintuitively the best thing you can do for the fun of the players and the dungeon master. A basic principle of improv is to introduce an interesting twist and then build off of that. That twist is what you come up with in character creation. It could be surface level, like a rogue who has a fear of rope, or the twist could be something deep at the core of your character. Like, imagine someone who is growing so close to fulfilling his dream of owning a house and a farm, but was deep down dreading what would happen to his life after he's achieved that goal. Why? His backstory is that he was raised by monks that taught him contentment is a lie, and that you lose your ability to enjoy life when you run out of problems to struggle against. So he thinks what he should do is make life difficult for himself, so that he doesn't lose his ability to appreciate small, pleasant moments scattered throughout life's journey. For this reason, he left the life of his dreams behind to become an adventurer. No shortage of problems to face there. Whenever he gets close to fulfilling a personal goal, he comes up with some excuse not to go through with it, and gets himself wrapped up in another problem, never letting himself rest. That's a character backstory, filled with a mindset, but not character traits. You don't know how he would play that out as like a personality or anything like that. The shallow character trait of a rogue being afraid of rope would lead to some goofy shenanigans, like if the party needs to rappel down a dungeon floor, but the wizard has to convince the rogue that, oh, of course I know a spell that renders rope harmless. Just sprinkle some sugar on it, boom, perfectly fine. You can use this rope now. But the mindset of the second character can inform you how you roleplay in many more situations, like after combat. No, I'm not. That's not how that. No. Now, surface level traits like personality and goals are just as important as a deeper understanding of your character. Which type you want to rely on more for roleplay is up to you. Keep in mind that in order to have a proper character arc, you need to have both the belief that's going to change and a manifestation of that belief before and after it changes. The fighter in the first example didn't go from mean to the cleric to nice to the cleric. She went from mean to the cleric because she cared more about her revenge than anything else, to nice to the cleric because she cares more about how she treats other people. Now, how to roleplay, that's good and all, but here's some specific things to look out for next time we play. 1. Give your characters a bond. Something that tethers them together, like common ground, that they cover each other's weaknesses, or that they're attached to each other's personal goals. Otherwise, I just have to have the enemies kidnap you at the beginning of every adventure to make sure you're all in the same place at once. If you don't want to wait for a player-character bonding moment, you could just have your character explain to another what's going on if they missed a session. But do it in character. Like, one of them is asking questions, what in the world is happening here? And the other one's telling the tale as their character would, focusing on the parts they would find important and giving opinions on what's going on. Like, not the shopkeeper gave us a rusty knife in exchange for some gold. It would be like, that mean old shopkeeper gave us this knife and it was a bargain, so I thought, but the other party members were like, what are you gonna do with the rusty knife? Give someone tinnitus? It can't cut through anything. So that was that. Or you could have your character ask someone else's character about a trinket they're always carrying, like, not to pry, but what's the significance of that keepsake you have? Is it to remind you of home? I have something like that too. This medal was what my sister won in her trust fall competition 5 years ago. She's the most trusting person you'll ever meet. Something like that. Number 2. Take notes. I know you thought of this, Alexandra. The other day you were like, maybe I should have a slip of paper and write NPCs' names on it. But there's other things that you should take notes about too. Not like extensive detailed notes. Barely even bullet points. You could just have a convoluted mess of stuff on this sheet of paper. As long as it helps you remember things like clues for mysteries, questions that you have, connections between places and NPCs and stuff like that. Say you're looking for something or someone, you know who to ask around and stuff because they mention each other. You know that they know each other, that this location is known for X thing. That's the kind of stuff should be in your notes. Also, general plot chronology, remembering what happened in previous sessions so that you just don't forget important stuff. Number 3, descriptive battles. Don't let the battle map fool you. It's still taking place in our imaginations. The rules about actions, armor class, and grappling and such are just mechanical abstractions, calculations that won't convey to the other players just how cool that arrow dodge was in your head. Whenever you do something on your turn, don't explain it in mechanical terms. Use theatrical descriptions, such as, instead of saying, I take the dash action and move 60 feet down the bridge, tell your dungeon master and the other players that you waste no time attacking and dash straight towards the other side of the bridge, leaping over foes, dodging opportunity attacks, stuff like that. Alright everyone, thanks for watching and I'll see you Wednesday.